I'm so sorry it's bad, such bad weather. This is the last dialogue or discussion or whatever one likes to call it. I wonder how much one has got out of all these talks and discussions. Whether one has deeply understood and changed, transformed oneself, or do we still remain halfway up the hill? Because I think we ought to ask this question of ourselves. We said the other day, the word mediocrity means going up the hill only halfway. And excellence means going all the way up. And I wonder whether we are moving or staying only halfway, frightened, anxious, uncertain, not knowing what to do, and remain there. So I think it's rather interesting and worthwhile if one could go into this question for yourselves. But before I go into all this, are there any things to talk over together? Yes?
Could we discuss the importance of relationship in self-knowledge?
Oh, yes.
Sir, please, when thought stops, what is that which is aware, and what is the relationship of this awareness to the sacred?
To the?
Sacred. Sacred.
To the sacred. Vous voulez parler 10 minutes? Non, je vous en prie. Écoutez-moi, je vous prie. Soyez prêts. Please be very short, not 10 minutes, a minute.
Qui a compris quelque chose. Ceci serait très très important, il me semble, pour les gens. Parce que les gens verraient que vous n'êtes pas l'unique, vous n'êtes pas l'élu. D'après ce que j'ai vu, cette tente, fondamentalement, il n'y a pas de différence entre cette tente et l'église du village.
Sir, écoutez-moi, je vous prie. I have to translate what you say in English because many of them don't understand French. Therefore, non, je vous prie. qu'est-ce que vous voulez dire en deux mots?
Il doit traduire ce que vous dites en anglais. Alors attendez un instant.
Dites en deux mots, je vous prie, qu'est-ce que vous voulez?
Comment?
Dites en deux mots.
Pourquoi, en fin de compte, vous ne résumez pas en quelques phrases des centaines de milliers de mots que vous avez dit très juste et très clair, je sais. Mais pourquoi parler d'une vérité, d'un changement radical, d'une action sans motif, de méditation,
Oui, oui.
si cela n'existe pas pour ces gens?
Ah,
Est-ce que vous pouvez leur dire, vous pouvez, vous avez le nom, moi je n'ai pas le nom. Est-ce que vous pouvez dire aux gens, écoutez, tout ce que je peux faire, c'est montrer que le noir n'est pas gris, n'est pas rose, n'est pas blanc, mais qu'il est noir. Écoutez, vous êtes des moi. Vous n'avez pas, vous pensez peut-être que le moi dans vous c'est 10%, 20%.
écoutez mon ami, vous savez, c'est très difficile à traduire tout ça en anglais.
Je ne parle, bon, enfin, faites ce que vous voulez, mais est-ce que je peux finir ce que je veux dire?
Écoute,
Pourquoi ne dites pas aux gens, je ne suis pas un Dieu? Parce que vous êtes un Dieu pour ces gens.
non, je vous en prie. Non, non. Non, 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 non. Non, non, je vous en prie. C'est une blague tout ça.
Vous pouvez dire à ces gens, parce que vous pouvez dire tout ce que vous pouvez, que la bête, c'est le moi. Vous êtes la bête. La bête, c'est seulement, la bête est bête seulement parce qu'elle ne sait pas qu'elle est bête. Vous êtes des bêtes parce que vous ne savez pas que vous êtes des bêtes. Seulement pour ce fait. Moi, je ne suis pas la bête parce que je sais que je suis la bête.
I think the gentleman is asking, if I can understand him properly, and if I'm mistaken, I'm sorry. He's asking, why do you speak? You are a god to these people, and so on, so on, so on. Right? That's the real meaning of what he's trying to say.
C'era un'altra cosa importante, la più importante di tutte. Lui ha detto, se c'è nella tenda anche una sola persona che abbia capito veramente, profondamente quel che lei ha detto, perché anche lui non sale sulla pedana e dà un po' di consolazione a questa gente?
Ah, bene, 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 ho capito.
Questa è la cosa importante.
Why isn't there, after so many years of talking, one person who can take your place on the platform,
With you.
or who can sit beside me? You come over and sit beside me, all of you. If there is one who really understood what the speaker has said, then why doesn't he sit here and help me to convey? Then I invite all of you to come and sit here.
Se so il latino,
Maybe
I am closet in myself. Yeah? Sir,
Okay. Look, what is this? This is not a political meeting. Would you please sit down? Madam, किसको ले दे? I mean, I can't. What? Can love go beyond death? Please sit down. Yes, sir.
Sir, I am enclosed in myself and I wish to open myself. How can I do that without inventing a God?
Without inventing?
A God, God, Atman and so on.
How can I do this without inventing a God to open myself?
How can I open myself without inventing a God? What was your question, sir? First question, Don.
We can discuss the importance of relationship and self-knowledge.
Shall we start with that?
When I try to investigate different questions, I often get a feeling of isolation, like an unbeatable wall around myself.
Okay.
And I'm not able to face it anymore. Can we also
Go into that, yes. I think by taking that question of what he said, relationship to self-knowledge, right? I think we'll stay with that, and because otherwise we'll get lost with a lot of, and also I think we'll finish with what we were talking about yesterday. Let's be very clear about one or two things. I'm not your God. Thank God. And I'm not your leader or your guru. Look, please, for God's sake, do listen to what we are saying. We're not trying to impress you, influence you, to tell you what to do. Nothing of the kind. But I think it's very important for human beings to communicate with each other. To communicate implies we must both be interested in the same thing, right? At the same level, with the same intensity. Otherwise, you can't communicate. If you are not interested in this question of self and the relationship of that self with another, which is a very important sociological as well as psychological importance, I don't think any talking about it becomes clear. Unless one wants to go into these things very carefully, I think we better stop talking to each other. First of all, yesterday we were talking about something very important, it seems to me at least. We were saying that what is love in relationship with each other? That was the thing we were talking about yesterday. The love that exists between man and woman, the love of a mother with her baby, the love of one's country, and so on, so on, so on. We were going to go in that question. We said, can there be love if there is no total comprehension of self-knowledge? Right? We were exploring that question. And that question also can be answered when this morning, when he put that question, what is the relationship between human beings who have self-knowledge or who are understanding themselves? That's the question, first question raised. Are you all quiet now after all the morning disturbance? I would like, if I may, go into this question with your dialogue. This is communication between us, both verbally and non-verbally, into this question. Because most of us, as far as one sees throughout the world, has no real understanding or the depth of this extraordinary word called love. And it is worthwhile, I think, to go into it very quietly, not offering opinions, your opinion against my opinion, or your ideas, what love is, and so on. Exploring. Do you understand? Which is quite different from offering opinions. Quite. So can go into that question, which is related to self-knowledge. We said self-knowledge, knowing oneself, must begin knowing the world outside, knowing what is happening in the world, politically, religiously, economically, socially, racially, the class differences, the totalitarian states, leftist, right and center, all that you must observe, one must observe. It is not possible to observe if one is prejudiced. That's very simple and very clear. If I stick to my nationality, to my belief, to my race, and say I cannot possibly investigate, explore, observe the world. So, through the observation of what is taking place outside of each human being, oh Lord, without observing what is going on around us, socially, morally, religiously, and so on, merely to investigate oneself leads to insanity. Because there is the object very clearly to be observed, what's going on. From there you begin. Move from the outer to the inner. Not the inner and then the outer. You can deceive yourself enormously if you begin with yourself. Whereas if one begins from the outer, then goes deeply within oneself, then you will see there is no difference between the outer and the inner. It may be like the sea, the ebb and flow, going out and coming in all the time. Now, to observe oneself, we said, one must be free to look. Freedom implies freedom from prejudice, belief, dogma, conclusion, so that you can observe yourself. Otherwise, you will see what you want to see, or deny what you see, right? So to observe, there must be freedom. That's simple, right? Now, can we do this as we are talking? Can we, wanting to understand the extraordinary complex structure and the nature of the self, the me, to observe that structure and that nature of this self without any conclusion. If that's very difficult, one cannot do that, then you have blocked yourself. Right? That's simple. Whereas if one is really involved in it. Because what one is, the society, the religions, all that is the result. If you are envious, greedy, seeking power, position, you create a society which will bring about what you greed, power, position, and all the rest of it. So how does one, is it possible to observe oneself without any distortion? Bene? We say, please follow it step by step. We say it is possible only when there is no direction, when there is no motive. Because the motive dictates the direction and distorts the observation, right? That's clear. Then you will say, how can I observe myself without a motive? Because I am full of motives. Motives being reward and punishment, essentially. Isn't it? So can one look at oneself freely without this tremendous tradition of man, of seeking reward and avoiding punishment? But just to be free to look, right? Let's do this as we are talking. And in observing, one of the most fundamental questions is, what is a relationship between human beings? Relationship. Man, woman, husband, wife, mother and baby, and so on. Because if our relationship is not correct, I'm using the word correct in the English sense, actual, truthful, right, then we create a society, either a society which is so disintegrating, which is so appalling, or a world of totalitarianism. We create it and accept it. We'll go into that, let's leave it for the moment. So, it's very important to understand relationship, right? Relationship implies, the meaning of the word means to be related, actually to be related, to be in contact, to have empathy, sympathy, a sense of sensitivity that understands each other completely, not partially. So, as most human beings have not that relationship at all, their relationship is based on conflict. How does this conflict arise? You following? Please, this is important, if you will go into it together into this, because that's, our life is involved. Don't let's waste our life. We have got only this life, good enough. What the future life, or maybe it doesn't matter. What we are now, if we don't change what we are, will continue in a different form and go on. I won't go into that. So it's very important to understand this question of relationship. Because that's part of self-knowledge, part of knowing oneself. Through relationship, which is the outside, you can then move from the understanding of relationship, move inwardly. So it's important to understand relationship, which is, are we related at all to anything? Nature, to each other, private, intimate relationship, sexual, mother and a baby, and so on. Relationship. Now, what is this relationship based on? Please follow it for yourself. You have your husband, you have got your girlfriend or boyfriend, mother with a baby, all that, part of our life. So please follow this, if you will, be serious enough for once in your life. What is this relationship based on? Is it two entities, two human beings, deeply concerned with themselves, right? Deeply occupied with their own ambitions, with their own worries, with their own anxieties, uncertainties, confusion. These two people meet, boy and a girl, and so on and so on. And then there's all the problem of sex. And in this relationship, because each is separate inwardly, right, there is conflict, obviously. Right? Can we go on with it? So, conflict becomes inevitable when each one of us is occupied so entirely with himself. Right? Which we are. And we need to be, in exploring this, tremendously honest. Otherwise, the game is not worth playing. Now the problem is, can this relationship exist without effort, without this constant strife between human beings? And what then is that relationship in which there is no conflict at all? You follow? So why does this conflict exist first? It seems that this conflict exists because each one is centered within himself. From himself, he goes out. Right? From himself, he acts. From himself, he says, I love you. But the center is the me, the self. Right? This is clear, isn't it? We are describing what is very obvious. Now the question is, can that center be understood and dissolved? Otherwise, life, which is relationship, must inevitably be a series of incidents and conflicts. That's clear. So we're asking, can this center be understood, watched, see the nature of it, the structure of it, and end it? Not verbally, but actually end it. Right? That's our question. Therefore, one must observe freely the nature and the structure of the self. Right? Or if this, may I go on? So various questions are put. What am I? Who am I? Accept what the psychologists say, and the later psychologists, with his peculiar ideas and new way of thinking, he said, by Jove, I'll accept that. We are saying, don't accept anything. You understand? Because then you are merely copying what the psychologist says you are. Right? So there is no authority in the observation of oneself. Freud, Jung, and a whole belly lot of them. Wipe it out and begin. But then what you discover is original, not second-hand, right? So, it is only possible to observe oneself in relationship, how one reacts to another, how one looks at another, what are the verbal and non-verbal communication with each other. So it's only in relationship that one sees what one is, actually, not theoretically, not subjectively, but seeing in relationship your responses. Now, the responses are the expression of what you have remembered. Are you following? You have remembered certain incidents, certain expressions, verbal, gestures, it is stored up. You have registered them. The brain has registered them. And what you have registered becomes a memory, and with that memory you observe. That's fairly clear, right? You observe your relationship with another, with the past memories. Therefore, you're not observing, right? So is it possible not to register at all? Please, this is really a very, very complex question. Unless you give your mind intelligence, your capacity to think clearly, you won't capture this. And you must be serious, because this is one of the most fundamental questions. Whether the brain, which is registering all the time, which is consciously or unconsciously absorbing, which is registering, and this registration is like a tape, which is being played over and over and over and over again. Right? So we are asking, is it possible for that tape, that machinery which registers, to stop? You understand what Are we meeting each other? Bene? Somebody tell me, please. Are we together right? Bene. Please, I'm not your God. You're not my followers. I'm not your guru. We are together taking the journey into something tremendously important in life. If you are not doing it, don't listen. Think of something else. But if you do pay attention, give your whole attention to it. So, the brain, its function is to register. It registers because in that registration there's security. Right? It feels safe. Because it says, I know, I remember. And in that remembrance, in the conclusions which I have, I am secure. Right? So, the brain demands security. Like a baby, it must have security right from the beginning. Otherwise it becomes neurotic, all kinds of things happen to the baby. Now, The brain is seeking security. Because having security implies it can function effectively. If it is uncertain, unclear, then its efficiency is lost. This is clear, isn't it? I'm not saying anything very strange, so please. I'm going to say something very strange a little later on, so go into it. So the brain demands security. Then only it can function effectively, sanely, rationally. If there is any kind of uncertainty, then its actions become neurotic. Right? That's clear. So it must register. So when in relationship there is constant registration and remembrance, then relationship becomes a conflict. Because you are remembering your incidents, accidents, what has been accumulated, and the other is also doing the same. So the center is being strengthened, right? The me is strengthened in me and in you. So the question is it possible only to register what is essentially important? What is important, not essentially. I'll remove that word. What is absolutely important? Because as the brain demands security, it will find security in what is absolutely necessary. Right? It must have security in food, clothes, and shelter. Absolutely. In technological knowledge, and so on and so on. But what is the need of registering any other factor? You understand what I'm saying? Please go into it with me if you don't mind. Don't offer opinions and judgments. We are investigating. The brain is accustomed through millennia to register. My tribe, I live with my tribe, I'm safe. Outside my tribe, I'm unsafe. Outside my class, outside my group, outside my belief, I'm uncertain. There's fear. So, the brain, through millennia, has developed this quality of registering because in that there is safety. Right? Now we are saying, is there safety in the registrations that are going on psychologically? You understand what I'm saying?
È chiara quella divisione di quello che è necessario.
Wait, non dica, no, un momento per favore, mi ascolta, I'm going to go into it.
Alla tribù che lei diceva, e io mi sento salvo nella mia tribù, è necessario, è autodifesa. È autodifesa necessaria.
See, sir, I said please for 10 minutes listen to me to the very end. And then you can jump on me as much as you like. But please listen to what I have to say first. So we are asking, because you are disturbing, I'm going on with something, let me finish to the end of it. I'm not being impatient or trying to prevent you from talking. You have your opportunity afterwards. Yes, we are asking, is there security in the registration, in registering all the psychological hurts, all the psychological fears in relationship, the attachments? You follow? So, take one thing. In relationship, psychologically we are hurt. Right? Hurt, wounded from childhood. And the results of that hurt are violence, wanting to hurt others, or withdrawing, not to be hurt anymore, and so for isolating oneself, and being isolated, act neurotically, and so on, so on, so on. So I'm looking at that one thing for the moment, which is that we hurt each other in our relationship. The more intimate it is, the more we get hurt. And is it possible not to be hurt at all? Which is not to register the things said by another which may wound. You're following this? Do it in yourself as we are talking. In our intimate relationship with each other, we say things casually. We say things rather brutally. We are, friction. And in that friction there is a great deal of hurt. Now we are asking, is it possible in that relationship with each other not to register and therefore not to be hurt? You have understood my... Huh? All right. We are saying it is possible. And I will go into it. Don't say it is impossible and then block yourself. Right? We are going into it. Don't say it is not possible or it is possible. We are moving together like a river going round, moving, flowing. And any difficulties that come, we'll go round it, but keep going. So we say it is possible not to register in relationship. Because love is not remembrance. Right? Love is not something we said, darling, you're so good to me day before yesterday. So love is not a thing of the past, a thing of cultivated by thought. It is not a thing that happens, that can possibly happen when there is conflict in relationship. So we are trying to find out what is love in relationship in which there is no conflict. We are saying that is possible only when you begin to understand yourself in relationship. In relationship there is hurt, many, many hurts. And those hurts can never heal completely because they're all the time happening. So, is it possible in relationship not to get hurt? Please, this is a tremendous question. You understand? We are saying it's possible. And it's possible only when there is the realization, which means the observation that any form of registration in relationship psychologically is hurting, and it is essential to register at a certain level, not at psychological level. When you see that, you understand? When you observe it, when you know it, then you don't register. Say, for example, in our relationship, I call you a fool, or you are terrible this morning. I want to read the newspaper, you come and take it away. I get irritated. So, at that moment, which is at the moment when you are being called a fool or whatever you are, at that moment to be attentive. You understand? Attention implies, as we said the other day, there are three types of, which is concentration, awareness, and attention. Concentration implies focusing your whole energy on a certain point, right? Therefore excluding. And there is constant resistance to other forms of thoughts coming in. We said choiceless awareness is to observe without any choice. We went into about. Now attention is when you attend completely, as I hope you are doing now, completely attentive, there is no center. Right? Have you noticed it? So, when another calls you an idiot in relationship, when you are so attentive, it doesn't register. Right? Don't ask, how am I to be so attentive? That's a silly question. There's no practice, there's no method, there's no system. But when you see the real importance, the truth of this fact, that any form of psychological registration will inevitably end in conflict and hurt and all the rest of it. When you see the truth of it clearly, you don't register. Therefore, at the moment when a person calls you an idiot, when you are attentive, there is no registration. Are you doing it? Will you do it? Not in the future. Actually, sitting next to your boyfriend or your husband, wife, or whatever it is, see the whole machinery of it. Not just a single part of it, but the whole structure of this thing. We said registration is the means of acquiring security. Right? It has sought security in the images that it has built in relationship, in the image, right? That image ceases to exist when there is complete attention. Now wait a minute. The gentleman asked, what is it that divides that which is to be registered and that which is not registered? Right? Now when you see the nature and the structure of relationship, what happens, right? Actually observe it with your heart, with your mind, with your blood. What happens out of that observation? Now, there is not only attention, there is intelligence in there. No? Because you have seen something which is true. That is, when you are not attentive, hurts begin. When you are attentive, there is no image forming. If you see the truth of that, the perception of that is intelligence. You have an insight into it, right? You have insight into the nature of registration of the brain, right? And that insight you can only have when you are free to observe. That insight can only take place when there is emptiness, not your prejudices, your hopes, your fears, right? That intelligence says this is where registration is necessary, right? Therefore, there is security for the brain in intelligence. Oh, I'm talking now. Ha capito? Bene. Non verbalmente. Spero. Not verbal, but in your blood. It's like seeing something tremendously dangerous. It's finished. You don't approach it. In the same way, when you see the extraordinary fact that hurts, all these conflicts exist between human beings, because I've said it all. So, we have now... Will. What are you saying, sir? I can't understand it. What? Has somebody understood it? Please repeat it if you have heard it right.
He's wondering about will in the hurts in relationship.
Will in relationship. I must do this and you want to do something else, right? I want to become the chief executive of a foundation of some business and you want to do something else, right? Desire, which is the essence of will, pushes me in one direction and pushes you in another direction, right? That's one of the factors in relationship. No? But that's very simple. So it is very simple when you have got this intelligence. It is extraordinarily simple to understand the activity of will, which is the activity of desire. Please, have an insight into it, you understand? Not a verbal argument, saying it's tremendously difficult or not difficult, but have an insight into the whole movement of will, which is desire. I desire, I don't know, to play golf, to be a first-class golfer. My wife wants to be a social leader. And there is conflict between us, right? I want that and she wants that. Now, how will you avoid the conflict? To avoid the conflict, to wipe away all conflict, you must understand desire, right? Why there are separate desires? I wonder if you're going. You're following this? Why you have a particular desire and another totally different desire. Desire being for an object, for a position, for an idea, for something, right? You have a desire for that, and she has a desire quite the opposite. If the two desires go together, both of us wish the same thing, we think there's perfect harmony. But when there's contradiction between the two, right, then there's trouble. And he says, the gentleman says, this is one of the principal causes of conflict. Now, is desire different? The object of desire may be varied, right? I may want a car, you may want a baby. And so there is conflict. But we're saying, is desire in itself different? You've understood? The objects of desire may vary. We'll leave that. But is desire in itself different? Or is it essentially desire? If we understand what is the nature and the structure of desire, the essence of it, then what will happen? Now we'll go into it. No, because I want to move something else. We'll have patience. Is desire love? We said no. Right? We were very clear on that matter when we talked about love. And the nature and the structure of desire, we went into it very carefully some time ago during this gathering here, which is perception, seeing, contact, sensation. Then thought taking it over, making it a desire, and creating the image which is to be fulfilled through the will of desire. It's simple. I'm not going to go into all that. No, because there's something else we must talk about. So, if we understand desire, really, basically, have an insight into desire, you will have your object and I'll have mine. There will be no conflict. It is only when we don't understand desire fundamentally, then there's conflict. Leave that alone. Now I want to go on into it. That is, we said registration, in which thought has found security, the brain, now finds that psychologically there is no security at all. Therefore, there is no registration, right? But the discovery of that is intelligence. And in that intelligence, there is complete security. Right? Complete security. Have you got that intelligence? After listening to all these talks and words and words and words, have you captured that intelligence? Has that intelligence been awakened? And that intelligence can only be awakened when there is an observation which is to observe freely, without any distortion, without any motive, in relationship, to observe. Out of that comes intelligence. So, their intelligence gives complete security. Therefore, it registers what is necessary and what is not necessary. So we are saying then, is love a remembrance? Right? Is love something to be thought about? Or can love be cultivated by thought? We said no. And that's fairly simple. Everybody agrees to that. Then, what place has love in relationship? Right? If love is not desire, if love is not the pursuit of pleasure, right? Then what is love in relationship? Well, work it out, sirs. Would you ask that question when there is that sense of love? Problem is this. You have that love, which is not desire, which is not pleasure, which is etc., which is the essence of intelligence, right? I wonder if you see it. Suppose you have that extraordinary essence, which is of intelligence, which is love, and I haven't got it. In our relationship, I'm fortunately or unfortunately, I'm married to you. And you have got it, I haven't got it. Then what is our relationship? You understand this? You understand my question? Huh? Oh. ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo? It's raining very heavily.
In discussing, I really appreciate these talks and discussions. And in discussing, is there also a logical principle still valid, that everyone can for himself find out if there's some truth in what is said or not? Or is it just the principle that he has to suffer in life or whenever, when he doesn't live in truth or doesn't live truthfully? Or is there also in the words a logical principle? I had some logical questions that seems maybe almost insane or mad, like asking you or somebody else if you could imagine that I, for instance, am there if you are not there.
No, sir, these are all theoretical. So,
Did you not understand this?
yes, this has been an old question. I know this. But we're not discussing that at the moment, if you don't mind. What we're talking about is when there is that quality of love, which is not desire, which is not merely pleasure, then what is the action of that love in relationship? Which is, we said, in relationship, each one is concerned with himself. Bene? Huh? What's that? No, wait, sir. Don't jump into anything. Don't jump to any conclusion. Don't use words yet. We said, in relationship, you discover what you are, right? What your reactions, your pride, your envy, your this and that. And through relationship, you begin to dissolve all that. right? Then you are beginning to understand yourself as deeply as possible, because in relations it shows it, and you begin to realize that where there is attention, there is no registration. We went through that. And then the problem arises, what is love in this relationship? Right? What is, if there is no desire, if there is no pursuit of pleasure in this relationship, what is then relationship? You understand? Go on, sir, think it out. I'm not thinking it all out for you and then you accept it or reject it. Go into it. I love you. Come on. No, liquids. Not attention, madam. We've gone into that. I love you. Watch yourself do. You love somebody, don't you? You love somebody. And that love is not controlled by desire, right? That love is not the pursuit of pleasure. We went into all this before. Then, what is the relationship between two human beings, man, woman, when there is this love?
It is non-ego-centered and therefore not hard. It is whole.
That's a theory. The lady says there is no center, therefore we are one. Is that it? See, none of you, forgive me for saying this, none of you do it. Go in, how do I know? If you did it, you wouldn't be here. Well, it's raining hard, isn't it? I hope you've got warm clothes afterwards. We are asking, what is the place of this quality of love in relationship? You understand? We said there is the operation of intelligence, the awakening of intelligence, which is a part of it, which is the essence of love, right? And this intelligence is also compassion. This intelligence is also clarity, which we talked about. And also this intelligence acts skillfully. Right? Skillfully. Got the meaning of it now? You're understanding it? Not this.
Like a river.
That's all. You understand? Go into it for yourself. You will see this extraordinary thing that will happen in your life if you do it. Not verbally, not theoretically, not come to some conclusion, but actually have an insight into all this. And you can only have insight when there is freedom, psychological freedom, freedom from choice, freedom from direction so that you can look. So, we talked about compassion, clarity, and skill. Love, we said, in that quality of love there is intelligence, right? Intelligence is compassion, isn't it? Because you can't have compassion without clarity. So in one's relationship with another, when there is compassion, love, compassion, intelligence, clarity, you will act most in excellent skill in relationship, right? I wonder if you see this. Do you see it? Or is it all Greek still? As we said, we have great skill. We have acquired enormous skill in every direction, in the air, in the sea, on the earth. Skill in in being cunning in our relationship. Right? Deceptive, hypocritical, act in a skillful manner to avoid getting hurt, avoid getting my own way and hoping you will follow me and therefore not creating conflict. We have learnt all this. But that skill is not out of clarity. That skill only emphasizes the more me. We went into that. So, see what takes place. Just briefly, I'll go into what takes place logically. We said you can know yourself without distortion by observing what is outside, what is happening in the world. And from the world, move inward. And then whatever you see will be correct, because you have learned to observe correctly, truthfully, accurately what's going on around you. So, in observing yourself, one of the major factors in relationship is conflict. Hurt, expression of will, desire, right? Getting hurt, conflict, and each one desiring his own particular way or her way, right? Now, all that emphasizes separation, division. So wherever there is division, created by will, created by idea, created by desire, objects of different desires, pursuit of particular ideology divides people. And therefore, there's tremendous conflict. My wife may be Catholic, I may be no Catholic, and there is conflict. I want her to become non-Catholic, and she wants to make me Catholic. So there's battle. So, we said the brain registers, because in registration there's security. And the security it has created is in the image that we have made about each other. And because there is the image of each other, which is different, there is conflict. So, we are having an insight into oneself, right? through relationship. In that insight can only take place when there's freedom and emptiness to look. You can't look if your mind, if your brain is full of prejudices, this and that. So there must be emptiness to look. That is, the observer ceases to be. We've gone into all that. So, we said registration. Non-registration psychologically is possible only when there is that intelligence. That intelligence comes about when there is an insight, right? So, that intelligence registers what is necessary and what is not necessary. Then we went into the question of what is love. Is love desire, etc., etc.? If it is not, then love is intelligence in relationship, right? And that intelligence is part of compassion. And that compassion can only be when there is clarity. Clarity which comes through freedom and freedom of observation and insight. Gosh, observation. And compassion, clarity will function with great skill in relationship, right? Now, have you, at the end of all these talks and these dialogues, if we had dialogues, which we haven't had dialogues at all. I have talked the speaker has talked all the time, but we must do it differently next year if we are here. We will be here. Now, at the end of all this, where are we? Have we together taken the journey, together all the way, flowing together, passing like a river that passes obstacles, goes round it? Have we moved that way, or are we still part of the bank and looking at the river? You understand what I'm saying? Are we sitting comfortably on the bank with our ideas, with our hopes, with our securities and, all the rest of it, and watching the river go by? Which is it that we are doing? To be part of the river, to flow with the river, you must leave the banks, naturally. I wonder, please don't answer, I wonder how many are flowing with all this. Then, sir, look. Then it becomes very important that there isn't only one speaker like me. You understand? It becomes very important that you come and sit here instead of me. That you become the one that is enlightened, who has clarity, compassion, skill. Because the world is getting madder and madder, insane. And some of you must go psychologically through tremendous revolution to come and sit here and talk, go outside. Will you do all this? Or we are too old? So at the end of this talk, it's too, what is the time? Clarity. I must stop. I can't talk anymore. So I hope, not hope, that you have walked along together we have walked very far, not stopped halfway and say, well, it's too difficult, I don't understand, I must understand him, not myself. You know, all that game we play with each other and play with lots of ideas and cunning logic and all that. Dropping all that, have we gone very far together?